Good evening. Welcome to the Vortex Sarasota Show. I'm your host, George Lewis. I've got a superb guest tonight. I have Linda Commito with me. Linda wrote a book called Love is the New Currency, and it's a great read, and it will put you in a really good frame of mind and cause your life to be better. So we're going to be talking about the book, we're going to be talking about Linda, and we're going to read a little from her book so you can get an idea of what it is. And I'm going to introduce Linda to you now. Linda, welcome.
Hi, thank you,
I am
George.
really pleased that you have came tonight. Was it Linda Waite who introduced us?
I'm not
Lynn?
sure how we met, actually. I think some internet connection. I don't
Well, I
know,
think
formally introduced.
one of your promoters,
Louisa Vaney.
Louisa Vaney.
Vaney,
I
yes.
was thinking, yeah, I
She's
couldn't
great,
remember
yes.
what Louise.
Right.
She moved away. She was here in Sarasota.
She did. She's
moved
at the
away.
Cape.
Yeah, she's a nice woman.
She is very nice.
I interviewed with her quite a long time ago, so
Oh, interesting.
had a good time. Yeah, good time.
Oh,
with her.
wonderful.
So, tell us a little bit about you before we get into your book. You know, because it makes things more interesting for me when I read a book and I got a little of the bio of the person
Sure.
and I know a little bit about them, what they're doing.
Great.
So, you're from England?
No, actually, I'm from New England. I'm from
New
Massey.
England. There's a little
Although
difference.
I lived in England for a year.
I've had several guests lately from England, so.
Is that right?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I'm actually from Massachusetts, but I've lived in Colorado for many years. I've been in Colorado for about 30 years.
So you weren't up there in George Romney's time then?
No.
Good for you.
But I've been in Sarasota for almost 7 years.
Have you?
And I love being here. It's just such a beautiful place.
It's a paradise, isn't it?
It is. I'm grateful every morning when I wake up. It's just really wonderful.
Well, you know, this show is based on the fact that I see Sarasota as being a hidden spiritual mecca here.
I
It's
agree
like,
with that.
You know, I've been to many cities, and very few are spiritually inclined like this area is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's just everything you could possibly want going on here.
I agree with you. It's wonderful connecting with people as we
How'd you
come
get
in.
hooked up with Sarasota? What brought you here?
Whenever things happen to me in threes, when 3 people tell me something or things happen with threes, I really pay attention. And 3 different friends kept mentioning Sarasota to me. And so I thought I would check it out, and I did. I came in 2005, and I wasn't sure that it was my place, but something kept saying, okay, Linda, come again and give it another chance. So I came a few months after that, and I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with my place, and so I made a major decision to make a big change in my life.
And you were in Colorado at that time?
I was, yes.
This is my second show, and I'm producing it myself. I don't have, Tom Johnson produces my other show. And the thing that I'm finding is I forgot to bring you on the air. So they've been seeing me and talking, I've been talking to you. So. Oh, we got you there now, so it should be.
Okay.
So what really was your inspiration to write the book? You had a dream or something, didn't you?
Actually, it was interesting. I was feeling so discouraged every time I watched or read the news. And I thought, is this what the world is all about? And there was a part of me that just wanted to get away from all of that. And I was at a dinner party one night, and I was asking people, so where would you go to get away from this negativity and chaos? And one man just looked at me, and he pointed to his heart. And I thought, oh, you're so right.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you for that reminder. And
Were you in
short-
Colorado then?
I was in Colorado at that
Okay.
time. Shortly after, I went to see, I was with 5,000 of my closest friends to see the Dalai Lama. And it was just such an incredible, I don't normally like crowds, and I felt so connected and so peaceful and just, it felt so wonderful. And I realized that when we have that heart connection to others, it doesn't matter. You don't have that sense of fear and that negativity that happens. And about 2 months after that, I was in meditation one morning, and I just heard the words clearly, love is the new currency.
Uh-huh.
I thought, wow, that is so beautiful. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do with that, but I was always had wanted to write a book, and I started talking to people about what was hopeful and meaningful in their lives, and that became a collection of stories. There are 66 that are in the book, and 111 ways that people are expressing their love and kindness to others. It is a life-changing experience for me. I can't tell you how much more hopeful I feel now, and I don't have that sense of fear anymore. I really feel much more connected and at peace in my own life.
I think there are a lot, and what you're telling me is kind of an affirmation of this. I think there are a lot more people who are into the love aspect as opposed to the fear. We get
so, too.
fed a lot of fear because it sells.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's a little harder to sell, you know, good times. People, you know, they saw us all the bad times.
Right.
So, when you set out to write the book, did you have a picture of where you were going, or did it just kind of evolve?
It really evolved. It was amazing, and I wasn't sure of the direction. I just started talking with people, and then the stories really kind of fell into different categories on their own. And I just met people synchronistically. I mean, it could be anywhere. And what was amazing is that these stories are about everyday people, and it's about how we all open our hearts to each other, and in the most unusual circumstances or simple circumstances. I mean, I was on a plane one day and met this woman, and her story touched me so much. I just was crying. It was so beautiful. And I was at a tiki bar one day, and I met a three-legged dog who visits amputees. And
So-
I mean, the stories were everywhere. And what was even more amazing was that even people that I knew had stories that they didn't share, because I think oftentimes when we do kind acts for others, we don't tell other people about it.
Absolutely.
But truly, it really helps, because when I hear about something that someone's done, it inspires me to do more. And so this was such a gift to me, because these people shared things that they really hadn't told other people, and they were willing to do that just to spread the message of love to others. And I felt that that was a tremendous gift to me. And it was interesting. There are many people that don't talk about many of these things.
Well, yeah, well, if you think about it, when people are you know, in an environment where you're talking with a lot of people, usually you're going to find something at the community or sports or something outside of yourself that you're talking about that other people can relate to. You rarely. And those people who are constantly talking about themselves, kind of like, you know, we shy away from them anyhow.
Right.
So did you write all the stories yourself, or how did that come about?
I wrote most of the stories and most of the introductions, but there were other stories that just came to me synchronistically. Someone would submit a story, and it was so wonderfully written, just the way they expressed it. And one interesting example was my mom had told me that I had an uncle, kind of like, I'm Italian, so kind of the godfather uncle.
Right.
And I found out that he had another godchild, and I had never met her before. And so she had a clothing store. She sold, I can't think of the words, used clothing, but consignment.
Right.
And so she had asked my mom if I had any of my prom dresses. And so, anyways, that's how it happened. And I met her at actually the service of my uncle's funeral. And it was the most incredible story that she shared. She goes, I have a great story for you. And I'd love to read it if I could.
Please do. Please do.
Right. It's called Jumpstart.
Jumpstart, okay.
And her name is Trudy.
I think in watching the video that you have up on from Cafe Palm, I think you were talking with her.
Oh, maybe. No, actually, she wasn't there. She's actually in Massachusetts. But
It's a different lady then. Okay, go ahead.
right. And it was vintage. That's what it was. She had a vintage clothing store.
Vintage, okay.
And I said my prom dress with slits up the side and hot pants was considered vintage. And
Yeah, really,
apparently
huh?
so. But I got to meet her, and she shared the story. She had a store called Uncle Margaret's Vintage Clothing Store. Wonder how much money I'll make today, I thought, grappling with a crossword puzzle while I waited customers. It was a very slow day at my store, and the entire street seemed eerily quiet. Even the birds weren't making a sound. I heard a shuffle outside, and looking out the window, I saw a lanky young man with long, spaghetti-like legs slowly walking toward the front door. His shoulders were stooped, his head was hanging, and he seemed to be staring more at the ground than at his destination. This will be interesting. The young man entered the store and stood in front of the counter. He didn't make eye contact. Hi, I've been looking for work and wonder if you're hiring, but I suppose you're not, so I guess I'll leave. He looked so defeated, standing there in his worn-out clothes and downcast demeanor. Impulsively, I pointed to the men's dressing room and said, Wait a minute, go into that room. Then I grabbed a pair of black pants, a 1950s blue suit jacket, and a shirt that all looked like they would fit, and handed them to him. Try these on, just for fun. Okay, he said, looking puzzled, but passively responding to my directive. As he shuffled to the room, I heard him mumble, Sure, why not? I haven't got anything better to do. A few minutes later, he emerged from the dressing room. I couldn't believe the metamorphosis. "Go look at yourself in the mirror," I ordered. When he did, it was like watching a dry, droopy flower get some raindrops. He strained his eyes brightened and his mouth fell open. "Wow, everything fits perfectly," he said, looking pleased with what he saw. As I approached him to straighten his collar, he appeared a bit perplexed. I looked into his eyes and said, "Now go look for work." "But I can't afford these clothes," he said. "Yes, you can. Once when I was younger, I got help from a truck driver who told me to pass it on, and so I am. You do the same thing." Then I put his other clothes in a bag, handed it to him, and pointed to the door. "Go on, get." After saying thank you a dozen times, he walked confidently out of the store. I looked out the window and watched as he started walking faster. Then something magical happened. He jumped up, clapped his heels together, threw his arms in the air, and snapped his fingers. Through teary eyes, I laughed, seeing his spontaneous joy. About 2.5 hours later, he came running into the store. Panting and out of breath, he said with a wide grin, "I had to come tell you, I got a job, a real job." "Good for you," I said, giving him the high five. After he left, I realized that what he'd given me that day was worth far more than making a sale. He accepted my gesture of giving, he shared his young adult world with me, and unbeknownst to him, he reminded me that connecting to another human being with kindness makes everyone involved feel good. He also left me with a beautiful memory that I pull out whenever I need a lift, and it immediately makes me smile.
What a great story. That, so what I'm hearing there is that you kind of use the word love and kindness interchangeably.
In that case, I did.
Because I think kindness is really a facet of love.
It is a facet of love.
Yeah.
And I look at things, in the back of the book are 111 ways that people are expressing their kindness, but I think about a currency of love as something more than that. It's almost taking it to another level. And it's something that we have a passion for. It's something that we want to share of ourselves. We all have a different currency of love. For example, mine is connecting people. I love to get people together. I love to help people in that way. And I find many ways to do that.
Right.
And I do it on an ongoing basis, but many people have a different way of expressing it. And
No, go ahead.
I was thinking about another story that has touched me so deeply, and it kind of explains this currency of love a little bit better.
Okay, great.
And I thought maybe I could share that.
Yeah, please do.
There's a young couple named Brad and Libby Berkey, and they live in Denver, Colorado.
Uh-huh.
And they live in a transitional neighborhood of Denver. And they used to volunteer at a homeless shelter, and they were serving food. And they said they were always so glad when they could get to leave and then go and have a wonderful, healthy meal somewhere. And they realized that many people don't ever get to do that. And so they discussed it, and it took them a few years to get this together, but they decided to open a not-for-profit restaurant. And they opened it in Denver, and they used their life savings to open this. So there are no bills, there are no charge cards. People can come in and have a healthy meal, and they just ask if people want to donate. People can sweep the floor, help out if they want to. And what's amazing is that this restaurant has been in operation for over 5 years and done really well. People come in, teachers, business people, everyone comes in and enjoys its organic food as best they can, and they share their own expertise in cooking and sharing and creating community. But what was really touching is another part of that story. So that's a beautiful currency of love. Their currency of love is
Right.
creating community and their generosity, but
And feeding people.
right, exactly. But one day, Libby had noticed a dollar bill on the floor, and she thought, that's really odd. I wonder if we dropped that. The next day, there was a dollar bill on the floor, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And one day, there was no dollar bill, and then there were 2 bills the next time. And this went on for months, and she had no idea where this was coming from. And one night, she was working late, and she heard the door, there's a slot in the door, and she heard this door, and she went and rushed out quickly. The dollar appeared, and it was a homeless person, a street person, that was walking away, and he'd been leaving that dollar bill every day. To me, that is so touching and so beautiful.
That's really powerful.
And it was so powerful. And just that really moved me. I mean, I still am inspired by that one man's actions today. And she said another time there was a coffee cup. Normally they have a little donation box, but there was a coffee cup with a $50 bill next to it. And she said to the staff, she goes, "Who loves that?" And they said, it was the person that had all these layers of clothes. It was another street person that had left that for them. And it's just so beautiful, and they did it anonymously, and that has really touched me. My editor, her name is Linda Marie.
Uh-huh.
She was so inspired by that story that she has decided that she is not going to ask for money or to charge anyone anything. She is going to have an open pricing policy that people can give to her as they choose.
Pay what they can afford.
Exactly. Pay what they can afford. She does all kinds of workshops, and in fact, she has a writers group as well that I'm a part of as well. And she said it's just been the most amazing thing, and trust and just allowing things to happen. And she feels so happy and grateful for this new way of looking at currency.
That's really, it's a powerful story. I just saw a short documentary on somebody that was doing that. And it might be the same people that on the restaurant. They were doing healthy food as opposed to soup kitchen food.
Right.
Fresh vegetables and salads and that kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
You know, people don't realize that, you know, like, that I think that they tend to believe that street people ought to just go get a job.
Right.
Boy, but I'm gonna tell you what, when you've hit that far down, getting a job is hard.
It is hard.
And the majority of those folks out there, they have, you know, a mental issue. And they just, you know, we're not all created equal. And
That's right.
We hear that, but we're really not. So there must be quite a butterfly effect with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the
Absolutely.
story you're telling now and how it affected you and then it affected your editor.
You're so right about that. There is a ripple effect and a butterfly effect going on always. And we have no idea how one kind thing that we do or one loving thing that we can do can affect someone and the next person and the next person and the next person. And we really can make a difference. I mean, we can make differences in big ways or small ways, and it doesn't matter. It's our intention, our loving attitude to give to others.
Absolutely. You know, one of the things I know, and I know this absolutely, that there's that law of cause and effect.
Right.
What goes around comes around.
That's right.
There was a point in my life where I thought, well, if that's really true, by golly, I'm going to just start giving out as much as I can possibly do. Because sooner or later, that's going to come right back in my direction. Excuse me. I can't
right.
tell you how many times I've had things come from left field. And, you know, and it helped me, you know, that I never asked for, they just were there. That I have to really connect up with that whole thing.
Right.
And, you know, and it comes back. It's pretty amazing.
And it's amazing how the right people show up at the right time. I mean, when you're in that flow, I consider it a flow. And when you're in that flow, you know, you need something and somebody just shows up with the information or the support that you need, and vice versa, that all of a sudden you can be that person that shows up for someone else. And I can't tell you how many times it happened, you know, in the book, you know, as I'm writing the book, but also just in my life in general. I try to live that, and I try to feel like I'm sometimes going to be the one that can be there for someone else, and someone can be there for me, and it just happens in so many different ways. Surprisingly sometimes, you know, you just, especially when you don't expect it, it's like, you know, that person.
Especially when we get out of competition one with the other.
Exactly.
So important not being in
Absolutely.
competition. You know, it felt to me the way that, you know, the in meditation, you got the title.
Right.
Love is a new currency, came to you in
Right.
meditation. So did you feel that was from a higher power?
Absolutely.
So, and I thought you probably did. Did you feel guided through the process
Totally.
with writing the book?
Absolutely. Even with people that showed up to help me, editors, whatever, I mean, it felt like that the whole way through, that I just felt. And, you know, I can be a very driven person. I was a business owner at one time, and so I set goals, and, you know, I always had this mission to get this done. And, you know, also being in wholesale and retail, you know, I realized how important it was to have holidays. You know, Christmas was coming up, and so a little over a year ago, before the holidays, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this out for Christmas. And I realized that things don't work that way.
Huh.
And when you're really in this flow of energy, it doesn't happen that at all. And so it was like September, and I thought it was almost done. And then I realized, I worked with the editor, and she goes, where are you in this book? And I wasn't in the book at all.
Uh-huh.
And so she encouraged me to put that in, and then we added questions and we added other things, and so again I was trying, and I thought, okay, next day, every holiday that kept coming up, Mother's Day, and this was a year before this came out, and a friend of mine finally sat me down and she goes, Linda, natural childbirth is a much better way to go than using forceps. I was trying so hard, and
There's a metaphor.
it was. And I think that sometimes when we try so hard,
Right.
it just is, we just come up against the wall. We're just stuck more often. And I found that when I could let go and trust in the higher power and go with the flow of things, of people that I was meeting, it just worked out so beautifully when I was finally able to let go of my own attachment to it, I guess.
I think what's so important about what you're saying is when, we put it all down on paper, some people use the images and, for what they want and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I think that in many ways we limit ourselves, because so many times I've thought I wanted this or I wanted that, only to find out that it was a horrible thing. I didn't need to be there at all.
That's so true.
And if I just, you mentioned earlier the word go with the flow, if I just let a higher power guide me, I'm sitting here today because of that guidance, doing what I love to do. It's like, it's a wonderful thing. I get to
That's
talk with some
beautiful,
really
George.
great people like you.
Thank you.
And the other thing that I see your book doing here, which I think is really powerful, the timing of it. Oh, by the way, timing is kind of cool. Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to you, and happy Valentine's Day. Is that there's a big, I don't know if big's the right word. There are really, literally millions of people right now believing that we are approaching a shift. A consciousness shift. I know there are the 2012 doomsdayers and all that.
Right.
I'm not there. What's your take on that? What do you, how do you see that? What do you see happening? And how do you see your book in that?
I feel that these stories are an example of the shift.
Yeah.
Of what's happening, and part of it is that place of discouragement that I was talking to a place of hope. I see that coming from a place sometimes out of negativity and chaos and losing things. I mean, we've all lost things during these last few years. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, people have lost homes and jobs and whatever.
Put us all in the same boat too, didn't it?
Right, exactly.
We tend to relate differently
That's
to one
right.
to the other.
And I think people also realize what's really important. I think they really evaluate. We've all been evaluating our lives and what is truly important. And what is more important than people that we love and connections, feeling a sense of belonging and community. Community has been such a big piece. That's something I really realized in writing this book, how important that was, how we can meet each other's needs, we can help each other, and if we live in a sense of community, there's real joy in our lives. And so all of those things, but the other big shift I think too is that we put so much emphasis on money and paper and metal. That's been our focus, and also that, I mean, I know we know this now, but governments and corporations aren't coming to our rescue.
Anything but.
Right, and so I think maybe we've been a bit complacent in past few years, and realizing that really it's us, it's you and me and each of us together. We're going to create something new and wonderful. It'll take some time. I'm not being Pollyanna and saying it's going to happen overnight, but I think that it is shifting. I already see that shift, and I think people are feeling more positive, feeling that we can make a difference. We can change the world. We can change our own immediate world. We can change how we relate to people. We can change ourselves and how we think about things. But we're not incapable of making changes in our lives.
Oh, and that's probably the only way that we're going to change the world.
Right, exactly.
Is if I change what I do and how I treat people, and you
Right,
change, and then
exactly.
it's kind of like that, you called it a ripple effect.
Right.
And hopefully we get to the point where that there's a tipping point where we move from, the darkness of greed,
Right.
to the lightness of, what's the word I'm after, generosity.
Mm-hmm.
Huge,
Absolutely.
they're just so diametrically opposed. I was thinking, you wrote a story of your own, right?
Actually, I just have myself included in stories of things that happened to me.
Okay, so there isn't a
I'm not thinking about a
vignette
particular
here.
story, but one of the things that I've realized in my life, that things that happened to me that seemed like so bad at one time, I lost maybe a major relationship or job or something that really, I realized later that when you come from you look at it in retrospect, it ended up being the best thing that ever could have happened.
Absolutely.
And you're already saying that that's happened in your life. And that certainly happened in mine. So now I come from a place when things happen to me, so I just step back and I just say, thank you. I just say that I know that this is the best thing that could happen for me, even at the time when it doesn't feel that way. And it's amazing how much more quickly that changes. And I can really see the blessing and things happening. And so I've kept a gratitude journal for years now. I write 3 things I'm grateful for every morning. And that just helps to set my day. But I really try to see the blessings in every situation. I try to just turn it around immediately. And I talk to myself about that and looking at
A gratitude journal. I've found that gratitude is really a power.
Mhm.
As much a power as gravity is a power.
That's right.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
And that really comes through in your work here, too.
Mhm.
So you have another book in mind? You working on something?
I do. I'm ready to start.
So it's
I
been in
really-
gestation for a while?
I love working with children. I was an elementary school teacher at one time in my life.
Oh,
and
were you?
I love working with kids, and I was touched with, actually, there's one child story in here, and it was a young boy that actually climbs mountains, and he is actually in Boulder, Colorado,
Uh-huh.
and he climbs mountains to raise money for his best friend who has pulmonary arterial hypertension. And I met him at a climbing wall, and he was just sharing some things with me, and I was so moved by this young boy. And we were talking, and after he and his dad and this other man climbed 14 14ers, which are 14,000-foot mountains, in 8 days.
14ers, huh?
And he and his dad have set all kinds of records, and he's just been named National Geographic's Youngest Adventurer of the Year.
Oh, wow.
His name is Matt. He's an amazing young boy. But at the end of that, I said, Matt, if you had one wish in the whole world, what would you do? And he goes, in the whole world? And, a little kid with big eyes, and he said, I would cure everyone of PAH, pulmonary arterial hypertension. I just looked, I was like so amazed at, this young boy, that would be.
Would he even be
one-
thinking that kind of thing?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think children, they're just so special. I just love working with kids, and I would love to foster more kindness and altruism with children. So I'll be collecting stories if anyone out there would like to share any stories with me. I would like to be sharing stories of children's acts of kindness with each other and their currency of love.
Well,
So if anyone has any feedback, I would love that.
give us your website and your email address, and we'll see if we can't
Sure.
get something coming your direction.
Well, thank you. The website is www.loveisthenewcurrency.com.
That's pretty easy to remember.
It is. And people can share stories. I also will be doing a sequel to this as well. But the children's stories are something that really are touching me right now.
And they'll also find you on Facebook?
Yes, I am on Facebook. I have a fan page, Love is the New Currency, and also my own Linda Commito. I have a personal fan page as well, but they can go to Love is the New
And
Currency.
where can we buy the book?
You can buy the book locally at Elysian Fields
Mhm.
in Sarasota, and also Circle Books at St. Armand's, and also Sarasota One Bookstore. And you can also get the book on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com
Okay,
as well.
very good. So the book is Love is the New Currency. I really recommend that you pick it up. If you want a good read that's going to make you feel good, it's this book. So what's in store for you? We got a couple minutes left. What's in store for you now? Where do you go now?
What's in store for me? Actually, right now, I wanted to tell you that my book was just chosen as one of the top 12 Valentine picks, pick books by The Spirited Woman.
Oh,
Which is
fantastic.
great. And I've been doing a lot of marketing, just trying to get it out to the world, just spreading the word. But my next focus will be really collecting more stories and continuing in that vein and talking with people about that.
Fantastic. I think one, for me, in seeing what you're doing here, one of the big benefits has to be the people that you meet that share their
Absolutely.
stories with you and the connection that you get with those people.
Thank you. I just did a book signing at Circle Books on Saturday, and 2 women came in, and they were looking at the book, and one of them had opened the page, and she said, and it was on peaceful passing, and she said to her friend, she said, look at what I just opened to, and I just looked at her, and she came up to me and she goes, I have cancer, and she said, we have been friends, and we have not seen each other for 15 years. We decided to get together. and they both bought the book and talking. I was just so moved. We just all hugged each other, and it was so beautiful. The connections of people. And I did a book signing at Unity Church. Oh, Unity Church, by the way, also has the books. And I was doing a book signing there, and this woman came and shared the story. She was a volunteer with a little first grader that just moved me to tears as well. People are so beautiful, and we all have our own way of expressing ourselves, and when we can share it, it's a much better world to live in.
Much better world. I used to think money, power, and prestige, that was the deal. Now I know that relationships are the real thing.
Absolutely.
I told you this was going to go fast, didn't we? We are out of time
it was
already.
Great. It was wonderful.
So I want to thank you for tuning in tonight. I will be back again next week, same time, 7 p.m., same place, vortexsarasota.com. And be sure and come back. In the meantime, don't forget to accentuate the positive and have a fantastic week.